Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special discussion between Advocate Floyd Gracious and myself, Clef de Mello. Uh, just a quick introduction. Advocate Floyd Gracious is the Chief Academic Consultant of Lex Ducos. Lex Ducos is a premium education technology platform which decimates high quality legal education to professionals and students who are from the legal fraternity. Floyd also has extensive education teaching background. He has been teaching in a variety of institutes, legal institutes across Mumbai, and it's been from 2007 that he's been involved in this particular aspect. Uh, Floyd, welcome to our discussion on how legal education has been evolving in India and how it has pretty much transformed in the way it was maybe 10 years ago. So, just wanted to quickly understand what is your opinion on the way things have changed in the past 10 years and how they are going to be in the next 10 years? Uh, could you help us better understand this space?
Okay, first of all, Clem, let me thank you for the introduction. I know the firm that I'm associated with is an academic consultant, and your firm have been married off. But thanks for marrying us off as well. Flight Developer was kind of a pleasant surprise. On a serious note, now to address the query that you've been raising. Um, Personally, if you go through education online, and this is a thing that I've been dealing with for the last over 15 months, ever since the pandemic struck. One is, if you really ask me for my opinion, physical brick and mortar classrooms is what we had, is what we love. I'd still love to go back to a classroom, though it is inconvenient, because it would mean travel, and the time is not only the lecture time, but it's a lot of commitment beyond the lecture time. With online, it cuts it for us. It also does that for students, but what happens with online is, while that physical interaction and that physical approach that you have to education is missed out on, there is another great edge that you have with online, which you do not have with physical. One is, you can access lectures anywhere in the country or anywhere in the globe, because you are not confined to physical limits. Now, if I need to take a class, or if you need to attend a class, or any student needs to attend a class, had it been a physical lecture pre-COVID, apart from the COVID security issues that come into play, um, the question is, we would have to physically go to that college or that institute for the class. With online, sitting in the comfort of your home, you could be accessing a class in any part of the country, or even for that matter, any part of the world. So that is the biggest revolution of online education, if you ask me. What happens now, I'm being a little selfish here, Claire, but for us as professionals, I'm including you in this, and all other professionals, you and I have constraints with time because of our work schedules. We would love to teach, no doubt, but if a college from out of city asks us to teach, or a college which is not on the route to court asks us to teach, as much as we would love to teach, because of physical constraints we can't make it. But with online, I could be taking a class for any place in the world. Now, how does this benefit students? Students can access faculty from any part of the country or any part of the world, sitting through a laptop from the safety and comfort of their home. So this is a brilliant idea of moving into online technology, which you can transverse the bars of physical constraints, which you cannot do with brick and mortar classrooms. One problem that we've all faced in education, because with undergrad and postgrad education that we've had, is keeping, and this is a challenge for both students and for faculty, is the attention levels and keeping the energy level of a class up. Now, when it's a physical class, it's always more energetic. In an online class, we rely upon students to maintain that discipline from their end. We can't enforce it. It becomes a challenge for us to keep that quotient of engagement high enough for students to interact. Students need to also understand the benefits of it versus the downside to it. Now, they have a lot of upside to it as well as downside. It's easy because the general notion is, the lectures are not happening. These are terms that I've got from kids. The lectures are not happening, it's boring, it's difficult to sit up, it's so, as it is, they don't have, and none of us have really much activity outside. So what happens is people do get a little bored and they find it a little boring. But when you look at it on the upside, there are phenomenal advantages of legal education online, or any education online for that matter. One is the time that you save. Now, if you're a budding professional, whether you're a law student or any other student, or even a junior lawyer, or somebody who's new to a profession, one is time constraints, because if you're interning or if you're working, you have a lot of time that is taken up by the organization with which you're assigned. If you're also with a college, like if you're pursuing an LLB or something through a college, you would also have lecture schedules from the college plus assignments, etc. Now, what happens is, by doing courses online, one thing is, with the pandemic, amidst so many downsides, one great advantage for students is they are not traveling to colleges. So a lot of time is saved there. They save phenomenal time. Now that time can be invested into further education. So they can always take up a specialization course or some course that brings more knowledge or a specialized skill set to the table beyond what they are already doing. So whether it's an internship or it's their regular law course that they are following, or whatever, doing an add-on course would add value to their career. And they are using their time, which they are saving on the physical travel, both for the online course as well as the regular work or course, to pick up a new skill or to upskill or reskill. So it's phenomenal advantages to them. The
Very
thing is,
true.
it's the mindset that you approach it with.
So my question to you would be, the past 2 years, because of the pandemic, reskilling, upskilling has taken center stage. And in most spheres of education, and in most spheres of professionals and corporates, everybody's reskilling, upskilling. Uh, how has online legal education impacted the reskilling process for lawyers or for professionals who need it? What is your view on this?
I'll get to that. See, also what happens is, first of all, there's also this, in terms of COVID, the advantage of online legal education, to answer your previous question, because it's a safe and convenient option. Okay, so there are phenomenal advantages. Now, going to your question of reskilling and upskilling. Okay, one is, the job market has become a lot more difficult. You're an HR professional and you know better about it. You know how difficult it is to get jobs, how difficult it is to retain jobs. There are salary cuts, people are losing jobs, contracts are being terminated, etc. Now, what happens is, also the colleges, every college, people are studying. Despite the lockdown, there are batches being churned out, which means the number of professionals in the market are increasing at every point in time. The only way then that you can survive the competition is by staying ahead of the race. And that is exactly what you're talking about in terms of upskilling and reskilling.
Correct.
Now, I will
So,
take these two, if you permit me, separately, because they're slightly different, though they're largely similar. Now, what happens is, for people on the junior end of the spectrum, up to the mid and the mid scale of the spectrum, these people would be looking at upskilling, because one is, they need to have growth so they can move forward using the time and resources available, however minimal they may be. But time, of course, you do have certain availability of time, thanks to the traveling that you're saving on, etc. Using that to pick up professional skills or specializations would give them a growth to, even if not immediately, to bounce back once the pandemic situation recedes.
correct.
It's about a future investment. And then there is another issue which comes into play. The pandemic has changed a lot of circumstances for everyone. So, like for instance, a lot of contract renegotiation has happened. A lot of IPR issues have come in. A lot of cyber law things have come up, using force majeure, non-compete agreements. A lot of these issues have become more prominent with work from home. Security issues, non-disclosure has become a problem, because when you had people in your confined workspace, it was very different. Today, security issues that come into play with data when they're working from home comes into play. So a lot of legal issues that you're dealing with on a daily basis have changed shape.
Correct.
Now, this is where exactly what you rightly pointed out of reskilling, that is what comes into play. So this is the right time to pick up new trends, new skills in the market, to take your career forward. Because as these careers are progressing, if you are running on your old skill sets, you may become redundant, and newer kids coming in may take your spaces. So even if you're in the mid to upper mid segment, there is always a need to grow. And you know how it is, you had a firm, both of us, we can't sit where we started. We're constantly evolving on a daily basis.
So, it's interesting you say all this, which really rings a bell for me as a professional in the HR industry. But I still feel online legal education in India has a substantial way to go, because there are certain pitfalls and certain I should say roadblocks which I don't really find quality online education available in India today. So where is it that we need to bridge the gap when it comes to the quality of education and knowledge that we are putting out there for people?
Your observations are absolutely bona fide, Cliff. Because what happens is, first of all, most people, and this is not only an India thing, but I would say it's a global thing, except for the major colleges, of course. With the institutes and the private courses, the focus for some reason, and I really don't know the logic behind it, but the focus has been more on costs, not on quality. So people are hitting a lower course fee rather than hitting a better course. Now,
Very
if
true.
you're doing, and my personal advice to students who are viewing this is, if you're doing a course which is cheap, it may not really solve your problem, so you're actually wasting money. I'm not saying do the most expensive course either, but do something that fits your requirements. So when you're selecting a course, you need to see what you're looking for. Now I'll tell you, I'll explain to you what you're trying to, what you aimed at, because what your observations are absolutely spot on. When you look at it, see, one of the main things, okay, is with a lot of the courses that I saw online, okay, um, in fact, a lot of the ones that you had showed me when y'all were building up Lex Ducas, um, what I had researched from whatever information was sent to me, most of these courses are pre-recorded courses, so they are pre-shot videos which are just played back. Now, it is cost efficient, no doubt, because it's much cheaper than having a resource person coming in for every lecture and having to pay the resource person per lecture. But the question that comes in is, law is an evolving field, it's an interactive field, and it is a field that is constantly building on knowledge. Now, if I have a doubt, I need to clarify it with you on the spot. I can't clarify it with you over email, because by the time you reply to my email, it would have resulted into 4 more doubts, which has become more complex. If I have a query right now as you're explaining a concept to me, I need to put my hand up and say, sir, I have a problem, I cannot understand this. Before you go to the subtopic or the next issue, you will clarify my doubt, and then we progress. So live interactive classes where you have a faculty sitting in front of you is a very different thing to pre-recorded lectures. Pre-recorded lectures are again available even freely online. If you Google up, you'll find plenty of coursewares. I have my own YouTube channel that explains things online, but you cannot compare that YouTube channel or any pre-recorded video, whether it's a lecture or whether it's the free ones that we do in terms of pro bono services online, to a lecture which is conducted face on. Like, see, your questions are directed towards me, I answer them. If I need clarification, I can address it back over the platform. But had it been a pre-recorded session where your questions were recorded and sent to me, and then I record my answers and send it back to you, there is no way we can interact. And this is what I found to be the biggest drawback in terms of the pre-recorded classes. You
So
need to have each and every lecture live and interactive. That is one thing.
So basically, what you just detailed out is the quality of online legal education is lacking in India. Now, you see
See, more
that
than the quality, Clev, it is the ability to satisfy doubts and to make sure the information the information may not be substandard.
right.
It may be up to par with the industry requirement. But if I have a doubt and you're bombarding me with information, I'm going to pile doubt on doubt, which means I'm going to be confused.
So legal education typically has always, involved students who are students of law, who are doing the LLB, LLM. But there is a huge pool of people who are professionals working in corporates, working in industry, who also need to, upskill, reskill themselves, and bring themselves up to date with the latest legal aspects of the job that they perform. Now, that is something which I feel in India has not really been addressed. It's something that courses need to address. Online education can address. So what's your thoughts on this point?
Before I answer that question, Clev, off the record, I have a question for you. Are you into telepathy or anything? Because you seem to be reading my mind. Okay. These were two things, when you asked me the pitfalls,
Right,
I only actually dealt with one of them. There were two
right,
other things which I also wanted to talk about, but you've literally pulled the words off my mouth. See, that is one thing. Now, what we spoke about in terms of what we discussed earlier, that is
right.
more in terms of the substance or the letter of the law.
Correct.
What you just asked me is in terms of the spirit of the law. Now, when you do live classes, that's the second thing that you go to. Your static classes would be as of the time of recording. When it's live, your faculty generally would not script their examples and their discussions. The law, of course, would be as per the BEREC. That's the law of the land, which cannot be changed. But the discussions and the other deliberations that happen, which is again paramount to the course, every course should encourage discussions on current affairs, current trends in law, recent judgments, recent policy changes, things that would impact the students. Think, because this is how you keep professionals up to date with the market trends. Like a very classic case is your banya shop down the road. Every one of us would have had a local grocer down the road. What has happened post COVID? We use online platforms more. We are buying stuff on e-commerce. Now what has happened? Your regular consumer protection law, which is what would have been defining your relationship, has gone beyond its consumer plus e-commerce laws. So the trend has changed. Now what happens is, when you have these discussions, your students have to be sensitized to these amendments, to these developments in law, because law is continuously evolving. So you have to be up to date with the trends in these refresher courses. And even professionals coming on board to do online courses are supposed to help them study trends, understand concepts, and discuss issues that are pertinent and relevant to the times. And another thing with online education, as you rightly pointed out, in your previous question, is why is there a pitfall in the current system, and where do you think it lags? I have done this on an experimental basis across several colleges. I know people from a few of those colleges are viewing us live. I don't want to mention names, but what I have done, I mean, this is a personal experiment which I have done, is I have incorporated the law college module. So what we do with LLB students across even the professional students. So I have done it with BMM colleges, media colleges, several other colleges, including management colleges, where when we do workshops in law, or when we do, certificate or add-on courses in law, or even their business law, media law, or law module in the course, I have added a moot court or a panel discussion or a mock session, even if it's a mock negotiation session or whatever, into the course. Now this gives them a feel of real life, what the actual industry will expect. Because the main purpose of doing any course, whatever the course you do, whether it's illegal or otherwise, is to create a set of skills that are industry ready, that you can take that knowledge and then use it in the industry. And if you're
So,
not getting usable knowledge, then my personal thing is, doing the course is not really solving your problem.
so what you're saying is actually pretty, relevant to what is happening today. So, Floyd, you've made some valid points about, how things have evolved in the legal online education space. But, when it comes to somebody, I mean, a lay person like me, for example, from a corporate, if I need to better understand the online education that is being imparted to me, uh, there is something which is like supporting notes, or some supporting documentation that helps me better understand what is being delivered by the lecturer. So today online education doesn't provide that. They do provide a bit of it,
No,
but
in fact, on the contrary, they provide too much of it,
okay.
if you ask me. Because what happens is, the students also today are focusing too much on notes. And I'll beg to differ with you on that. But what happens is, the trend is towards notes and handouts and courseware, rather than on actual education and knowledge. And if you're talking about what you asked me in terms of upskilling and reskilling, the
Right.
focus should be on skills, on skill development, acquisition of knowledge, and acquisition of skills and tools which you can use in the industry, rather than on a collection of notes. Because what most people are doing is, they are perpetuating that college trend of study packs and notes. And then what happens is, these notes are all uploaded onto the site along with recorded videos, which goes to my next contention, which is, they have to clear a certain number of hours, but there is no defined schedule. So I can do a 30-hour course in 3 days, 10 hours a day. But what's going to happen is I am going to be subjected to an information overload. I'll be bombarded with a lot of knowledge. Question is, I will digest nothing of it and I will take home nothing.
True.
What
So
the focus on should be is actual education,
I
growth
agree
as a
with you
professional.
totally. I agree with you. So according to you, I'm just trying to understand what is it that we need to have in legal online education to stay relevant in from the education point of view and also from an industry point of view, because today industry is at the end of the day employing professionals, but many a times the professionals need to spend a huge amount of time in learning the ropes before they actually get onto the platform of performing their roles.
So that was my exact contention, because if people are, studying their entire life from study packs and trying to just get exams cleared by rote, that's not going to get you industry ready. What you need to focus on in online classes is, one is you first of all have access to faculty, and most of these courses would have nice, professionals from the industry, which is another thing you need to look into when you're checking out a course. See that your industry guys are industry professionals, so guys who are actually practicing in that relevant area. Now they come with a whole load of knowledge which you will not get in a textbook. They will give you actual examples of, matters which they're probably fighting or which they have fought, matters which have been argued in a court of law. So, these are things that are actually real life examples, things that people can relate to. And this will help students to actually understand their concepts better. What people do is generally they, buying textbook notes, or, even the online courses offer textual notes. These are, your typical ABC examples. A signs a contract with B, blah, blah, blah. This is not going to gear you up for the real world. Now, if you're talking of reskilling and upskilling, you need that kind of information. You need that kind of practical discussion with professionals, which will engage and, help you to actually benefit when you get off into the real world. The other thing is what you rightly pointed out, because your years of experience have obviously, kind of got you onto these insights. The other way is, your quintessential law firm and council mechanism, which all our juniors would have done. They intern and junior with us, and then, slowly over a period of time, over a few
Yeah,
years, they climb
exactly.
the
So,
ladders.
so what I've been, noticing in the past 20 years that I've been, in the executive search business, a lot of corporates, the situation today is very dynamic.
True.
And companies are looking at people who have super specializations in a certain area, which is important to that industry that they operate in. Earlier, an LLB was probably spending another 5-6 years with a established law firm and gaining that experience and then moving on. But what do you feel that online legal education can accelerate that process? And can it really provide the specific skill set to a specific industry, for example, that a person can imbibe without having to spend that excessive amount of time in actually, gaining knowledge through experience?
Yes, it can be, but see, the question is you need to choose your courses wisely. Now, what you've rightly pointed out is a huge gap. There is a void, and your observations are absolutely accurate, because where you leave off with your LLB or LLM and the expectations on the other hand, which the industry offer, there is this huge void in between. Okay, now you need to fill this. So either you pick up professional skills from online courses, or you trudge through the void, which means you actually work through internships and juniorships and all of that and learn over a period of time. Because what you're getting in terms of, what you have in terms of your basic knowledge, your core knowledge is fine. But the industry demands today are much, much more than what you would get from your standard courses. So you need to do top ups and refreshers to get that specialized line of knowledge that you want. So doing a course, so for instance, if you're interested in, contracts, you do advanced courses in only contract law. If you're interested in cyber law, you do something in cyber law. If you're interested in maybe medical legal, you can do a specific course only to that. Now, if you're, a person, say, working with the media industry or with the pharmaceutical industry, you would also be interested in doing something, to the likes of an intellectual property laws course. If you're a media
Correct.
professional or a journalist, something like media laws or press laws. So there are several courses which will be tailor made to your industry, your requirements. A
So,
general course, what happens is it creates the core foundation. So a general law course, you're making references to the LLB and LLM, But the LLB is a different thing, because the LLB, one is an LLB is a fundamental requirement to practice. Certificate courses do not entail or allow you to practice in a court of law. So your LLB is fundamental. Your certificate or your advanced courses are not a substitute for LLB. But at the same time, the LLB is a general law course that builds your foundation. Okay, so it's like a building. When you're looking at a building, your LLB is your core architectural structure, your RCC structure. But when you want to be a flat which is fit for use, you will have to paint it according to your requirements, furnish it according to your requirements, put in fixtures that you want. So what you're looking at is then your certificate courses or your advanced courses are that tailor-made architectural and interior work that you do to your flat to get it to your requirement, to get it to the requirements of the industry. So when you do your certificate courses, it's basically getting tailor-made knowledge in a specific area to suit what you want to do in the industry.
So basically, what you are saying is that a person who has an LLB, who has got an LLB qualification, he can definitely advance his career a lot more rapidly by using online legal education as a manner of moving his capabilities to the next level.
True, and it depends, what the person is interested in. Because even if it's a thing as basic as drafting, pleading, conveyancing, the kind of actual practice that you need in drafting, pleading, conveyancing to face the industry is much, much more than what any college would actually offer at an undergrad level.
Understood.
So doing an additional course would help you take on the industry. And basically, if you're doing a 10-year period between the time you started off as an intern to the time you became an associate, you could reduce that period.
Understood.
So you could cut your 10 years to 5, which means your growth is double.
Correct. So this is an interesting point you have raised, because today I've seen a lot of online courses popping up across the internet, which provide a variety of courses. What is your comments on the industry accepting the legitimacy of these courses?
See, first of all, I don't know any course being offered, at the moment, which is a certified course, except for the courses offered by colleges. And those are mostly degrees, and a few, private institutes which are UGC certified or whatever, which offer certificate courses, as in diplomas or things which are accredited. Majority of the online edtech platforms which you're talking about, and these courses which I'm talking about in terms of the accredited certified courses, they are more in the physical domain with a temporary shift to online, via Zoom or Google Meet, etc., because of the pandemic. But they are not designed to online courses.
Correct.
So when you're talking about the edtech platforms, the private players in the market, I don't know anyone, at least I've not come across anyone, there may be, who's accredited to a body. So if you're looking at certificate value in the sense of the paper value of a certificate, that is something that you should not stress on too much. Because today, you know this better than I do as an HR professional. At the end of the day, your certificates, you will see, if you need to enter a corporate as much as you need to practice law, you cannot do so without an LLB degree.
Absolutely.
That is your bare minimum qualification that you require. Okay.
But I'm sure this online education, that provides you that edge in terms of,
Exactly.
specific
So
domain knowledge.
Exactly. So what you're focusing on in terms of any online course, whether it's legal or otherwise, should not be really on the certificate that you're getting. Yes, you require a certificate, because obviously you're not going to do a course without a certificate. But if it's an institute granted certificate, it is fine. What you need to really get into is what the course is offering, because it should be tangible knowledge that I can put forward. Because very factually, that certificate adds value only to a very limited extent, because you already at a level. So if you're a final year law student, you'll be getting your LLB. For every person who has finished a law degree, they would have their law degree conferred from a registered university. Nothing can challenge that. These courses are designed to provide specific knowledge. So the focus should be on education and knowledge rather than a mere certificate. That's my contention. Again, that is my belief. I could be wrong on this.
Floyd, I think I've taken a substantial amount of your time.
It was a pleasure speaking to you.
And do you have any closing remarks before I, open up this discussion to questions from the viewers?
What I would really tell students is, first of all, when you're looking for a course, it's not about good courses or bad courses online. But you need to see, first of all, two things: what the institute or the edtech platform offers, and what you want. Because it is not about what is offered. It is what you want. What are your goals? What are your ambitions? What do you want out of the course? And then you look for a course that meets your requirements. So if you're only looking for a certificate, it's fine to look for the cheapest course in the market because you only want the certificate on paper. But if you're looking for knowledge, then what is the kind of knowledge that you're looking for? And then you go out and find a course. So, there are certain things. I just jotted a couple of pointers which I would share with the viewers.
Sure.
One is, it is very important to understand who the resource person is, because the resource person who's experienced in the field would bring in a lot of, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of value added information apart from the law, the interpretation and the reading out of or explanations of the sections or the statutes. Okay. The platform should also be reliable. Yes, that's something that you would want to consider. Live lectures and activity based lectures, where there is engagement, so that will solve that initial thing that I spoke about in terms of lectures being boring and online not having the activity that physical classes have. Duration of the lectures is very crucial. Don't pack in too much. So it should be ideally 2-3 hours a week. 4 hours a week is fine. If it gets, and sessions also should be about maximum on average 2 hours, at most extended to 3, never more than 3, because law is in itself a little heavy. Now what happens is, if the sessions are too long, it would get a little boring for the students. People would tend to saturate, and then they would not really get the optimum result that they were aiming for. Smaller batch sizes of courses is also very crucial, because smaller batch sizes will automatically allow the faculty, the resource persons, and the
Right.
students to interact better. If it's a large batch size, then it's very difficult to, even if there are questions, very difficult to entertain every question, every doubt. Another point is practicality and application based questions, application based learning. It should be practical and application based, where students learn real life situations, real life things, and how to address issues in the real world. So that's another thing. Assignments and exams are important, because that's of course necessary to test how the learning went. It gives both the platform and the student a fair understanding, but the ultimate test should be what you take home. So these are
Advocate
things that
Floyd
both.
Gracious, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sorry to
No, it was a sincere pleasure to be.
interrupt you, but I think it's time we open up this discussion to our viewers, and let them post their questions to you, and let's get down to understanding what people want to understand, if there is any queries. So let's open this up to our viewers.
Sure, I'll be happy to take on any questions from the viewers.
Great. So as the questions are posted, I'll read them out to you, and maybe you could throw some light on those questions.
Sure, I'll try my best.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you, and we hope to see you again soon.